Let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons and what they did in the first round of the 2025 NFL draft class. Entering night one, the Atlanta Falcons only had one first round pick, and that was the 15th overall pick. More in that situation in the next couple of minutes. With the 15th overall pick, everyone knew they needed a pass rusher. So they selected Jaylen Walker, defensive end / linebacker coming out of Georgia. He gets to stay at home. It's a great story. Hometown kid, got to play college at Georgia, gets to play for the Atlanta Falcons. He's a very good football player. I had him being mocked to the Carolina Panthers in my last mock draft. He's 6'1", 243 pounds. I know what a lot of people are going to say. He's undersized. There's no way that he's going to make it in the NFL as a pass rusher. I would say be careful with saying that. His speed is out of this world at the edge rushing position. But he's not going to come in day one and be an edge rusher on first, second, and third down. Think of him as more so of a third down pass rusher. But he's going to be on the field pretty much for every single snap. It's the versatility that he adds in. Raheem Morris had to blitz a lot last year with Jimmy Lake as the defensive coordinator. They did not have a lot of pass rushers coming off the edge. You made a trade to bring in Matthew Judon. It wasn't good enough. Their pass rushing situation has been bad for many years now. Their last very good pass rusher was Vic Beasley a long time ago. Their pass rushing situation has been bad for over a decade now. So adding in Jaylen Walker, who can be the Swiss Army knife, is going to help out. He doesn't have to match up at the edge position to bring in pressure on the quarterback. You can blitz him towards the middle of the field in certain gaps. That's what Kirby Smart did with him. He led Georgia in sacks and the highest pressure rate with the team by far. 6.5 sacks. He's a tremendous player, and do not be surprised if he's tremendous in coverage as well, because of the speed that he has. He's a tremendous athlete. He can cover running backs out of the backfield. He can cover tight ends. That speed and that athleticism is definitely going to help him out in this division. You have to cover running backs like Christian McCaffrey, like Alvin Kamara in space, the same with Saquon Barkley. You need to have versatile defensive linemen and have versatile defensive players in general, and that's what you have with Jaylen Walker. He could be their best defensive player. That's the type of upside that he has. His floor, he'll just be a solid middle linebacker. So at the 15th overall pick, it's an A+ for me. I love it. And the way that Raheem Morris loves to use defensive players, it should definitely work out. The downside is this. He's not going to be known for setting the edge and stopping the run. And you have a lot of offensive linemen in this division at the tackle position. They can set some defensive ends down on their back. We saw this with the Carolina Panthers, the same with the New Orleans Saints at times against the Atlanta Falcons, and the same with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Remember when I said they only had one first-round pick entering the night? Well, they talked with the Los Angeles Rams. They said, we're willing to go out there and give you our first-round pick in next year's draft class. We're trying to win right now. Let's just trade up. So they traded up with the Los Angeles Rams. It's a little rich in my opinion, but the player that you got, I think you're walking out with a great deal here. They selected James Pierce Jr., another defensive end coming out of Tennessee. James Pierce Jr., 7.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 6'5", 245 pounds. He's not the undersized player that Jaylen Walker is, but he's also a speedy, violent defensive end coming off the edge. Jaylen Walker is more so a 2nd and 15 pass rusher, 2nd and long, 3rd and long. James Pierce Jr. can come in 1st and 2nd down, immediately be that pass rusher that you're looking for. So you get a 2-in-1. You get Jaylen Walker, who can come in at crucial downs, be that rotational pass rusher, keep him on the field. You get James Pierce Jr. He's more so defensive ready right now that can make a huge impact with the Falcons. They're looking to go out there and put a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterback. When I look at the Carolina Panthers and what the Panthers did to them last year, they ran the football down their throat, but Bryce Young had a lot of time in the pocket. The one team that has given the Carolina Panthers a lot of problems over the last few years has been the Dallas Cowboys. They have a lot of speed up front. They have a lot of gap responsibility against the Carolina Panthers. Raheem Morris is basically taking what the Dallas Cowboys have done within the last few years with Micah Parsons, and he's turning it into his own. Once again, we've seen him do this with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We've seen him do this with the Atlanta Falcons when he was their former defensive coordinator. He builds his defense off of speed and versatility. And it's more than just James Pierce Jr. and Jaylen Walker. And I love what they did in the first round. We'll see what happens with next year's first round pick. Hopefully, it's not a high first round pick, because if it's a high first round pick, more than likely your offense was not that good and your defense took a major step back. And your defense was bad last year with Jimmy Lake. You fired Jimmy Lake. You're bringing back a very good defensive coordinator and Coach Brick. He's a former interim head coach for the New York Jets. He's a former defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. He builds his defense off of front 7 play and secondary coverage on the back end in terms of pressing up man to man. That's when the Atlanta Falcons are at their best. Ryan Nielsen was not a terrible defensive coordinator. Jimmy Lake was horrible last season, and it did not look good on Raheem Morris. He brought him in. I was hitting the table, fire Jimmy Lake and take over defensive play calls for Raheem Morris. He never did. Raheem Morris is a very good defensive coordinator. He's not going to get too many chances to be a head coach. This has to work out. So bringing back Coach Brick to help out this defense should definitely help out the players like Jaylen Walker and James Pierce Jr. And adding in these 2 young players in the first round is just a part of the puzzle here for the Atlanta Falcons. You still have some draft picks that you could play with in the 2025 NFL draft. You can still hit on some players in the mid to late rounds. But the pass rushers that you have right now, Leonard Floyd, he's ready to go. You got him in free agency when he got cut by the San Francisco 49ers. 8.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. And the reason why the 49ers cut him is not because he's a bad player. They needed to save money. So they went out there, they cut him. The Falcons bring him in. Right now, he is their best pass rusher. But he does have to go out there and be that number 1 guy when you have these 2 players that are young coming in to help him out. They cut Grady Jarrett at the defensive tackle position. That really sucked. He meant a lot to Atlanta. He meant a lot to Georgia. He's a great locker room guy. Overall, just a great human being. But you cut him. He wasn't the same player that he once was before he tore his ACL. He's now with the Chicago Bears. And it brings in a question. I know what a lot of people are saying. How would the Falcons look against the run? I'm concerned about that. But you have Rook Ororo, who you selected last year. High in the NFL draft process. Solid, but a raw defensive tackle. If he can come in and be that run stopper, gets to the quarterback on a consistent basis, and eat up double teams, you're working with something. You have David Onyemata, who is also a very good defensive tackle. 3 sacks last season, 23 solo tackles. Morgan Fox, very good defensive end. He's big, 275 pounds. He's known for stopping the run. You're depending on these players last year to give you pass rush and bring the quarterback down. Now you're depending on those players to go out there and do one thing, stop the run. I compare this defense and the way they're lined up to the Los Angeles Chargers last year. You can run some light boxes. You have Jaylen Walker at the edge rushing spot, middle linebacker position. You don't have to stack the box to stop the run. That's also a problem that the Falcons ran into last year. They're stacking the box. Now you're hurting your secondary. You have so much versatility now. Even if they do get past your front defensive lineman, you have speed at linebacker position. Will bring them down at the second unit. And Jaylen Walker is a very good tackler. And the same with James Pierce Jr. Arnold Ebiketie, very good tackle in his own right. He had 6 sacks last season at the edge rushing position. The Atlanta Falcons, they don't need one guy to just stand out and give them 12 to 15 sacks in a year, similar to a TJ Watt, a Max Crosby, or a Myles Garrett. That would be great to have. Those are great players. But what the Falcons have right now is something special. You can get a bunch of defensive pressure from different defensive players. You can give the quarterback different looks. Are you blitzing in this situation? Are you running man coverage in certain situations? You can overstimulate the opposing quarterback and make him uncomfortable and make him nervous. This is one thing the Atlanta Falcons did a very good job of last year against Baker Mayfield, even though Kirk Cousins went ballistic in both of those matchups. They did that to Derek Carr. You want to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, confuse him at the line of scrimmage, and make sure that you can get that pressure. When I look at the back end of the Falcons defense, they're set. Jesse Bates is still one of the best safeties that you can have. A.J. Terrell's a very good cornerback. He's a true number 1. Mike Hughes, he's solid. You have D. Alford in the nickel position. And I say this every single time. A strong front 7 will make an average secondary look amazing. The quarterback doesn't have that much time in the pocket. And that's the way to make it out this division. Baker Mayfield, he's an underrated scrambler. He can make plays off script. If Jaylen Walker is in his face giving him pressure, you'll knock off some of those throws. Bryce Young, we saw what he was able to do in the back half of last season. He looked very good. You take away that run game, put pressure on him. We'll see if Bryce Young can truly develop or not. That still is in question for the Panthers. And the New Orleans Saints, maybe it's Derek Carr, maybe it's Spencer Rattler. Put that pressure on them. That's the first key for the Atlanta Falcons to go out there and fix this defense by adding in a very good defensive coordinator and Coach Brick, combining your head with Raheem Morris. But I look at the Atlanta Falcons for this upcoming season, and we'll see what they can do in the rest of the NFL draft. And you still have some free agents out there that are looming around. This is a win-now team. That was apparent last year when they signed Kirk Cousins. They missed the NFL playoffs this year, not due to a lack of talent. It was because of coaching. Raheem Morris let them down. Now, we could say lack of talent at the edge rushing position. They had a chokehold on this division, and they let it go to the wayside because Kirk Cousins was so terrible. He had 1 passing touchdown to 9 interceptions at the midway point in the season. They had to turn over to Michael Penix Jr. You should have set him down after that first game against the Los Angeles Chargers when he had those 4 interceptions. The Atlanta Falcons have done some weird things, but it has worked out in their favor within the last 4 to 5 years. You went skill position so many times in the NFL draft in the first round. Now it's time to elevate this team to the next level, and that's why they brought in Raheem Morris. Arthur Smith was not the right coach. I look at Raheem Morris. It's put up or shut up. The days of just winning 7 games and 10 losses, that's not going to cut it anymore. Going 8-9 is not going to cut it. It's 10 to 11 wins. Win this division, get to the NFL playoffs. That's what the Falcons want, and that's what they need. And that's what they're telling you right now by going out there and paying Kirk Cousins the contract you paid him last year. By drafting Michael Penix Jr. You're still building for the future, but you want to be in a win-now mode within the next 5 to 10 years. And most definitely with this trade, by jumping back up in the first round and getting James Pierce Jr., you're sacrificing next year's first-round pick for James Pierce Jr. So you need your defense to fully work out and to be better from an edge rushing standpoint. The edge rushing spot has been non-existent. It can't get any worse than what it has been over the last 5 to 10 years. You're not depending on Matthew Judon anymore to go out there and be that main guy to get you the pressure rates and get you over the top. You look at Divine Diablo. He's another player built off of speed. Solid run defender. He's known for getting to the quarterback high pressure rate. The positive with this defense, they have a lot of speed. They can move around. They can give you different sets of problems. The negatives, how will they look against the run? But I think they'll be okay with Rook and David Onyemata and the fact that they have all this speed. Back in their defense, I have a lot of confidence in it. Now, when I look at their offense, if I'm the Atlanta Falcons, I'm hoping Aaron Rodgers retires. And you may say, why am I bringing up Aaron Rodgers in the Falcons video? Trust me, it'll tie in. I'm hoping Aaron Rodgers retires. I hope he never plays another down of football. So the Steelers can come and they can say, what do you want for Kirk Cousins? You can unload that contract and you can trade him to the Steelers. Kirk Cousins should never be a starting quarterback for this organization ever again. At the time, it did make sense to bring in Kirk Cousins. They did not know Michael Penix Jr. was going to be there. But as soon as Michael Penix Jr. was there, they selected him. The ideal situation was for Kirk Cousins to be the starting quarterback for a year or two, then move on from Kirk Cousins. And I know Kirk Cousins came off a torn Achilles. This organization was desperate. They haven't had a franchise quarterback since Matt Ryan. And even the last season with Matt Ryan, he didn't look good. He didn't look too hot. They traded him to the Indianapolis Colts. His career was done. You've had to deal with Desmond Ridder, Marcus Mariota, Taylor Heineke. I would have paid Kirk Cousins too. Kirk Cousins is like Peyton Manning compared to those quarterbacks. And Kirk Cousins had a couple of good games. But as the season progressed, he looked worse and worse. Never was the most mobile quarterback, but he wasn't able to move around at all because of that Achilles injury he suffered the year before. He went to the Pat McAfee show. He said he was dealing with an arm injury. He didn't tell the team. That's why he had that terrible stint. Regardless, he should not be the starting quarterback with the Falcons anymore. You walked into a blessed situation with Michael Penix Jr. He only started 3 games last season. That's a short sample size. That is different from starting the entire season. But Michael Penix Jr. showed you he can get the football to Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Kyle Pitts on a consistent basis. That game against the Washington Commanders, he showed out. He did everything in his power to win that football game. Raheem Morris let him down by not calling timeouts. The defense let him down by not getting to Jaden Daniels on a consistent basis. And you performed that well against a team that went to the NFC Championship game. And I know football is all about matchups and how well you match up with your opponent. But Michael Penix Jr., he answered the call last year. He came in, he performed very well. The weapons that you have accumulated over the last few years in the first round of the NFL draft with Michael Penix Jr., Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, it's time to get a return on this investment. And it's time for all those players to step up. Now, Bijan Robinson, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL, severely underrated. When we talk about the top running backs, you may hear Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Saquon, rightfully so. Bijan Robinson had the third most rushing yards in the NFL, and he had 14 rushing touchdowns. That was tied for the fifth most. He averaged 5 yards a carry. He's a generational running back coming out of Texas. He's tremendous. And he's splitting the workload with Tyler Algier, who I'm still a huge fan of. Tyler Algier, we go back a few years, right before they selected Bijan Robinson. He had over 1,000 rushing yards. He averaged 4.7 yards a carry last year, 644 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. If you get into a situation to where the opposing team is running the football down your throat and you can't stop it, just go out there and beat them with time possession. Run the football with Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, work off a play action with Michael Penix Jr. And get the football to Drake London and Kyle Pitts. It's that simple. And that's what Coach Robinson did with Kirk Cousins early on. You got some big explosive plays, but when it was time to hunker down and run the football north to south, east to west, they did that with Bijan Robinson. They did that with Tyler Algier. It does concern me that Drew Dalman is no longer the starting center with the Falcons. He went over to the Chicago Bears. It's going to hurt, but you still have solid offensive linemen. And don't sleep on Michael Penix Jr. He can move around. A lot of people are saying that Michael Penix Jr. is known for throwing the football, and he is. He's a gifted passer, but he can make some plays with his legs. We have seen this in college with Washington. We saw this with Illinois. The one crazy part with Michael Penix Jr., we even saw this down the stretch for the last 3 games of the regular season. He was able to make some plays off script. Has all the potential to be a franchise quarterback, but you have those weapons to help him out. Drake London is a true number 1. He's that Mike Evans type of wide receiver. 1,271 receiving yards, 9 receiving touchdowns. Averaged 13 yards a catch. That was the 4th most receiving yards in the NFL. You look at Darnell Mooney, a very good number 2 wide receiver. 992 receiving yards, 5 receiving touchdowns. He is more so of a deep threat. 15 yards a catch. Ray McLeod, solid slot that you can look at and you can plug and play with him. Give him end around plays. Kyle Pitts, I'm still holding out hope for to be a bona fide star, but it hasn't worked out just yet. I don't think that it ever will happen. I'm holding out hope for it personally. The realist in me is just going to come out and say this. He's a solid tight end. They overdrafted him in the first round, but it's okay. 602 receiving yards, 4 receiving touchdowns, 13 yards a catch. And it's not me saying that he's a bust. It's not me saying that he's a bad tight end. He has just been underwhelming for his career. When we look at Brock Bowers, we look at Travis Kelce, all the top tight ends, George Kittle. Kyle Pitts has all the potential to be in that class. He just never reached his potential. Maybe he can reach it with Michael Penix Jr. He has been placed into a bad situation. His first year with Matt Ryan, over 1,000 receiving yards. Then he had to deal with Arthur Smith. Any player that has to deal with Arthur Smith, bless your heart and bless you on the field. Good luck. He's going to find a way to not get you the football. Kyle Pitts had to deal with Desmond Ridder. He had to deal with Marcus Mariota, Taylor Heineke, and he suffered a knee injury. I know he's had his shortcomings, but 2 things can be true. He's been placed in a bad situation, and he hasn't been that generational tight end. And he hasn't been. Once again, he's not a bad player. I know that some people, they love to take up for Michael Penix Jr. They love to take up for Kyle Pitts, pardon me. I understand it. I'm still a huge fan of his. He's just not that great tight end that they were looking for. But in one-on-one situations, he can make his mark in the red zone and short yardage situations. The point of me bringing all this up is this. The Atlanta Falcons have the talent. They have the players on the offensive line with Chris Lindstrom, with Caleb. They have a bunch of talent. It is no reason why the Atlanta Falcons should not win this division or be in contention to win this division. I know the Carolina Panthers, they were red hot last season with Bryce Young. He was able to enter the starting lineup again when Andy Dalton got in a car accident. He hurt his thumb. The Carolina Panthers, they're rebuilding. Give them respect. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they've ran this division for many years now. Since Tom Brady entered this division, they've had a strong chokehold on it. But the Atlanta Falcons, you had that lead. You can't let that happen again for this upcoming year. Depending on injuries and how things pan out, if they don't win this division, I can see Arthur Blank coming out and firing the general manager and firing the head coach. You're sacrificing first-round picks and a lot of money. So you need to win big. I'm not saying they have to go out there and win a Super Bowl, get to the playoffs, and contend in the NFC. And they were a fun unit when Kirk Cousins was still in the lineup before he started to slow down when the season progressed. And for whatever odd reason, the Falcons draft a lot of players I like. James Pierce Jr., Jaylen Walker, B. John Robinson, Michael Penix Jr., Kyle Pitts, Drake London. Every player I like that I say, hey, they should go in the first round, the Falcons find a way to get them. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about the Atlanta Falcons, and did they make the right decision on night 1 of the NFL draft by drafting 2 pass rushers? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.